British Spy Stories. Season 3. Official Denial. Episode 22. The sound of the room telephone cuts through the morning peace as Gabby walks out of the bathroom with a towel around her. It's reception calling to say she has a visitor, and they're waiting in the breakfast room for her. She pulls on black jeans, a black roll-neck jumper, and her trusty boots, then descends in the lift. There are 2 security men in the restaurant as soon as she enters through the main doors. She turns her head and sees a familiar person sitting at the very far end of the room, with breakfast for 2 already laid out in front of him. She continues to walk. "Good morning, Gabrielle," says Sir Bernard. "Lovely day." "Hello, sir." She sits in the other chair at the table and pours coffee for herself. "How are you? Is that an injury I see on your face?" "I'm fine, sir. It's a souvenir from our meeting with Cavall." "He died, I saw from the report," says Sir Bernard. "An accident, sir." "And what about our friend, Overbeck?" "Location unknown, currently," says Gabby. "I'm concerned about his mental state, sir. He's gone down a dangerous path since he came south." "Do we need to do something?"
"We're looking for him, but my team is going to be fully committed to Operation Millport from tomorrow. So if we do anything, it'll have to be after that."
Sir Bernard nods slowly, but doesn't say what he's thinking. "I wanted to come and see you, Gabrielle. There have been some developments. We spoke about Oxwood before."
"Yes, he was struggling. I haven't had a chance to help him out yet, sorry, sir."
Sir Bernard cuts a piece of bacon on his plate, adds egg to his fork, and puts it in his mouth. Gabby drinks some coffee while he eats. "He is going to be moved from that role, Gabrielle," says Sir Bernard. "But that's not why I came to see you." She waits for him to continue. "He has leaked some intelligence, I'm afraid, and it concerns you."
"About Millport?"
"No," says Sir Bernard. "About the logistics port on the Black Sea that we destroyed."
"What was leaked?"
she says. "The resources who carried it out." He stops and looks at her. "As you know, who is deployed on an operation is classified as Top Secret Plus, and that one was arguably even more sensitive, as it is part of the Russian arms flow into Ukraine."
"Are you saying that Oxwood has told the Russians that I blew it up, sir?"
He smiles at her brevity. "Sadly, yes. They killed a civilian who Oxwood was using as a courier."
Gabby's brain clicks through the information and the associated risks.
Then Sir Bernard beats her to it. "There's a high chance that they'll send an assassin after you, Gabrielle." She takes a deep breath out and turns her eyes to rays of light that are cascading in through the window from the low autumn sun.
"Okay,"
she says, after a few moments.
"No riskier than anything else, to be honest."
"I can pull you out of your current operation here, if you want that," he says.
"Absolutely not, sir. I'm finishing Millport, and we're going to sort Overbeck. I don't quit because someone wants me dead."
"I thought you'd say that. Let's talk after Millport is complete then," he says. "Now, have some breakfast, and tell me about your team."
It's unusual for Marjorie to slam the door to the flat at 17A Carlisle Place, thinks Lady Allardyce, as the noise of her daughter's arrival echoes through the apartment and reaches the conservatory, where Fiona is watering her hydrangeas. Urgent footsteps can be heard storming down the corridor. Then they stop, and Fiona can hear the sitting room door open. The footsteps commence again, and Marjorie steps through the doorway and into the room. She is still in her overcoat, and is holding a glass of gin and tonic, from which she takes a large gulp. Bad day, Margie. Her daughter is breathing heavily and keeps the liquid in her mouth before swallowing it. I'm compromised, Mother. In what way, my darling? Says Lady Allardyce. Marjorie stops herself and drinks more of the alcohol. I've been stupid. We've all been stupid at some stage in our lives, Margie. The old lady finishes her watering and sits back down in a chair to one side of the conservatory. What's happened? Marjorie descends into the seat opposite her mother. Her face is pulled into a troubled patchwork of pain. There's a pause between them, and Marjorie looks at her mother's face. The old lady smiles. I've been leaking intelligence, says the daughter. Who to? Moscow. For how long? 6 years, Mother. Fiona is silent as her eyes scan the foliage around her. After a minute, during which time Marjorie has finished the gin, Fiona says, Why, Margie? Her daughter's eyes are watery now. I don't know. I wanted to stop the constant fighting, I suppose. Fiona thinks. What are you going to do now? She says. They sent the military police to Control to arrest me. But I got a message from another double saying they were on their way and to get out. Who sent that message? Someone in 5. How many Russians are there in 5? Everyone spies on everyone. You know that as well as I do, says Marjorie. Look, I need a plan. I'm not going to Moscow. What will 5 offer me? Retirement? Fiona opens her eyes slightly. Prison, I imagine. Maybe in your day, Mother. But there are so many infiltrations these days. There aren't enough cells in Britain for all the traitors. Fiona wonders if that's true. What will you do? She repeats. Go and see my handler, first thing in the morning. Won't they come for you tonight? 5 aren't that quick, says Marjorie. They'll take a day or 2 just to allocate some resources to tail me. Fiona wonders for a second time about the accuracy of her daughter's assumptions. Dusana walks from the local food shop with 2 bags, turns off the main road and walks to the back door of her house. She struggles to open the handle with her hands full, but eventually manages it and walks in. She goes through into the kitchen and drops the bags on the counter. I got food, she says to Victor, as she walks back into the lounge. What's all this? Victor is sitting at the dining table. It's covered with half-open packages, and their contents distributed untidily out in front of him. She can see wires, timing devices, and what she hopes isn't plastic explosive among the mess. My plan, he says curtly. Not your fucking bomb idea, her voice builds. Look, Victor. She walks to his side and puts one hand either side of his head, forcing him to turn and look at her. You have to stop this. His angry eyes look at her briefly. Then he tries to look away, but her grip is hard on the side of his skull. Victor! She is insistent now. Let go of me, he says, and pushes her hands away, returning to his work. I'm not bloody going anywhere with you like this, she screams at him. Please yourself. I'm in danger, and this is the way I can escape. By killing some British spies? She says. You're crazy, Victor. Even if you do kill them, they'll send more after you. He doesn't reply. She puts her hand on his shoulder. Her voice has suddenly lost its edge and has become soothing. Victor, I thought we had something. We do, Dusana, he says. I've just got to do this or I'll never be free. She leaves her hand on him for a few seconds, then walks away and starts to put the food in the kitchen cupboards. After 5 minutes, she walks back into the room again.
"Where are you going to put this bomb anyway?" she says. "You don't know where they live, do you?"
"I know where they're staying. I've watched them already, and I put a tracker on their car."
"How are you going to do this?"
Her face screws up in disgust. "They always leave their car in the underground car park under their hotel. That's where I saw their car and put on the tracker. I'll go back and plant the bomb there too." Desana watches his face as his eyes flick between the laptop screen and the wiring in front of him. The bar on Salagani Street doesn't seem as cheerful as it had been before. Oxwood puts the beer glass to his lips and finishes his third drink since he arrived here an hour ago. As usual, the place has few drinkers, and he wonders how the guy makes a profit given his dearth of customers. Still, this is one of the few bars that opens every day, and the men and women around here have noticed. It makes the place reliable. His mind can't let go of the sight of Lilia lying on his bed in the flat. She didn't deserve to die. She deserved to have a life full of happiness. She had said she wanted to travel, and his own stupid actions had robbed her of that simple idea. An ordinary girl with her dreams and hopes, destroyed by his selfishness. He puts a finger up and the barman sees it immediately. Oxwood likes that. The guy obviously knows how to keep his customers. Nick isn't looking up, but down at the table, and the bubbles sliding down the inner surface of his empty glass. He only becomes aware of someone standing next to his table when their shoe makes the slightest noise on the wooden floor. He looks up, and Erica's dark eyes are looking intently at him. In her hands are 2 glasses of beer.
"I saw your order and thought I'd join you, Nicholas,"
she says, her eyes portraying the slightest smile on their outside corners. She sits down and pushes one of the glasses towards him.
"You like this place?"
She looks around at the bar. "It's okay," he mumbles.
"I prefer somewhere a bit more sophisticated, I think."
She takes a sip of beer.
"You shouldn't drink on your own. My father told me that."
"Sensible man."
"But you don't feel sensible right now, do you?"
Her voice is calming for the muzzy feeling inside his brain.
"Are you sad about the girl?"
"Yeah," he says.
"You didn't kill her,"
says Erica. "As good as."
"You haven't always been like this, have you, Nicholas? Fragile, like this?"
Oxwood shakes his head, but hardly at all.
"Why is this different?"
she says, and drinks more beer. "She was innocent," he says eventually. "She'd done nothing."
"But she had handled stolen espionage material."
"She didn't know that." He suddenly gets fired up. "I never told her that."
"Perhaps you should have done."
"Yes, perhaps I should." He doesn't understand how this bloody woman can be so clinical, so unemotional.
"What are you going to do now, Nicholas?"
says Erica. "Get pissed. Then..." She waits, but he doesn't finish the sentence.
"That won't help, you know."
His anger rises to the surface, and he slams a fist down on the table. A few drinkers in the bar look around at him. He notices their glances.
"Yes, I know. You bloody robot."
Erica takes another mouthful of beer, but portrays no reaction on her face to his words.
"If you start to think about this job as anything to do with real life, Nicholas, you're fucked."
She pronounces the last word succinctly, as though she is saying it for the first time. Oxford picks up his glass and drinks half of the alcohol in one go, then puts the glass back down.
You tried to take your life once before,
she says.
I saw it in your file. I don't want you to do that again, Nicholas.
He blinks slowly, remembering the incident she is referring to. After Gabby, he felt low. It was just too much coke, he thinks. It was only one night, he thinks. And that nosy bloke who was working with him had seen him and reported it. Bloody people sticking their nose in, like this German woman.
Will you promise me, Nicholas, you won't try to commit suicide again?
Her face is a picture of efficient calm, but she adds a smile to it as he looks at her, to encourage his agreement. He nods vaguely and looks away, just to stop her staring at him.
I can help you,
she says brightly.
I have been trained in all this. You mustn't be alone. I can be your company.
I'm fine.
You're not fine. You need me,
she says.
Come.
She stands up and starts to button up her coat, which she didn't take off. What? Where?
I'm taking you to dinner. You need food inside you.
She stands with her hand outstretched towards him. He reluctantly stands up and leans over to get his coat, which he dumped on the bench seat next to him. He pulls it on and Erica waits patiently whilst he does so. When the buttons are done up, he puts his hands in his pockets, and she slips her arm through his.
I know a restaurant 5 minutes from here,
she says, still maintaining her brightness. He finds himself walking beside her, out into the street. What are you, some sort of fucking guardian angel?
Yes,
is all she says. And they turn towards Melanaris Park and walk through the cold air of the city.